Welcome to the Magnolia Shine podcast. This is our 11th episode of our show. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button to the Magnolia Shine podcast. Turn the notifications on so you don't miss any of our episodes. I'm right here with the one and only Blake Levine, and we're hosting it here today. And we got a big week 4 here getting started. I guess there are a couple games tonight, but really it's Friday night. Week 4 action coming right at us. What you thinking, Blake?
Yeah, no, another exciting week, and we're kind of at that point where these are the final games, and then maybe a few that are, but right before district play, the ones that
That's
really
right.
count, right? Like they all
Yep.
count when we look back at the record and the grand scheme of things. But when it's playoff seeding, when it's making your path to the South State or the North State or the state champion playoff game, and got to do better in your district to get a better matchup. This is the week.
Definitely. So week 4 coming right at you here, and we're going to go ahead and give some of our picks for this upcoming week. And let's start off with the one that's going to be a tough one to call. Ocean Springs and Picayune. What a banger of a matchup that we got there. It's going to be in Picayune. Listen, these are teams that are up at the top of their classifications. Ocean Springs is a team that they look really good for 7A. Picayune is probably the favorite in 6A. Blake, what you thinking about that matchup?
All right, we were going back and forth on this where we said that Picayune was not going to lose a game all year, and I kind of
Yeah.
co-signed that. And now I'm thinking to myself, I don't think so. I think Ocean Springs is going to win this game. Things have changed. And, people were joking with me, how could you pick Ocean Springs? You said Picayune wasn't going to lose all year. I'm like, well, I'm allowed to change my opinion. Isn't that a great thing about sports is I'm allowed to switch things up? So for me, I think Ocean Springs is going to win this game. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Picayune wins. And I don't want to say oh, I'm making this pick, but I'm trying to hedge my bet. I'm not trying to hedge my bet. I'm just saying I really respect Picayune. I just think Ocean Springs is like a point better or something.
No, seriously, yeah. So my pick on this one is going to be Picayune. I'm going to stay consistent with my prediction that they're going to be 10-0 in the regular season. And so I think Picayune will hold strong there. And this is probably this is like their second big test because they already beat was it Gulfport that they beat earlier
Yeah,
in
they
the
beat
year?
Gulfport.
And so that was an impressive win. Ocean Springs, I do think, is a little better than Gulfport. So it's going to be a tough matchup for them. And I don't think they're going to win easily by any stretch. But I think I'm taking Picayune for this one. And so we're starting off disagreeing, but we're disagreeing narrowly because we both believe it's going to be a close game.
Well, it should be a close game. If it's not, then I'm going to be disappointed in one of those teams. Less impressed with one and more disappointed, right?
Yeah,
Normally
that's
someone
right.
would say, well, if one team blows out the other, oh, wow, that team's just great. I don't know. I think I'd be disappointed if someone got blown out.
I would agree. I would agree with you, but especially if Picayune blows Ocean Springs out, just because of because Ocean Springs, their standard is Tupelo. If we're just being honest, like if you're trying to win this championship, you're going to have to go through the Golden Wave or possibly a team that beats them. So you're in a position where like your standard's very high here, and so even though Picayune is the standard for 6A, you're aiming higher if you're Ocean Springs here.
That's a great point, right? Because Picayune's biggest competition is probably Grenada, right? Just where we are right now for a state championship. Ocean Springs still has to get to a state championship game in this era of football for them.
That's right.
So if they can't beat Picayune, and this is no slight at Picayune, but how are they going to beat Brandon this year? How are they going to beat Clinton? I mean, because you're going to have to beat 2 or 3 of those teams in a row in the playoffs. Because we talked about this. Who do you think could be the 4 seed? It's Petal, right? Well, look, they beat Petal the first time, but I'm saying that Petal is going to be better at the end of the year, and Marcus Boyle's a second time. That's a tough sell, and that could be the 4 seed of the first round, where you have to take them on, and then you'd have to go. Sorry, not Clinton. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Clinton's in the north, but you play, Petal, and you could have to play a Oak Grove that may be better towards the end, and then Brandon, right? So
Yeah.
their path is going to be tough. You need to have these consistent wins early.
Definitely. So Ocean Springs Picayune will be tomorrow night. That is going to be something that'll be very interesting to see what's going on with that one. And then let's get going with Poplarville and Pearl River Central, which, I'm taking Poplarville in this one pretty solidly. However, Pearl River Central's having a great start to the season. They're obviously ascending as a program. In the past few years, Pearl River Central has not been very impressive. But this year they start off 3-0. They're looking pretty good right now, but I think Poplarville is starting to catch their stride. And listen, Ty Keys, what a game. Oh my goodness. I don't know if I've ever seen stats like that. That was unreal. I don't know if Pearl River Central is going to let that happen, but I do think Poplarville is going to win.
I'm actually going to take Pearl River.
Wow.
So one of the things from the Ty Keys game this past weekend that not many people are talking about because it was so spectacular when he did was their defense got torched again.
Yeah, that is true.
And
Because it was
right,
still a
because
close game. It was still a close game.
it was 60-54. Right? So here's the thing. Is Poplarville just going to have to win shootouts week in and week out? And Pearl River has one job this week. Stop Ty Keys and make someone else beat you. And look, if Poplarville beats you because, X running back goes off or, maybe they sneak a pass or two down the field. Okay, look, I can live with that. I can't live with Ty Keys going for 300 on me. So they got to make that decision, and I think that they do this week, and they win. And then all of a sudden, we're talking about Pearl River being a lot better and one of those most impressive teams.
That's right. And now Pearl River Central, they switched regions. They're one of the teams that switched regions with George County, so they're in there with Picayune, Pascagoula, and the like. But listen, obviously doing way better. Either way here, they're used to being the underdog in a matchup like this, especially against a program like Poplarville, even though they're a bigger school. Now we're looking at Pascagoula and D'Iberville. We're staying on the coast here.
Man, this is all coast.
This is all coast, but listen, the coast is having some big-time football right now, and they're playing well right now. And also some big games. D'Iberville hosting Pascagoula. Pascagoula's 1-2 on the season so far, but that does not reflect how strong this program is. If you think about it, last week they lost by a touchdown to Ocean Springs. So, listen, I'm taking D'Iberville in this matchup, but I do not see it being a domination by D'Iberville, but I do see them beating Pascagoula on Friday.
Where's that game?
It's at D'Iberville.
Man, this is a tough one. My heart says go with Pascagoula, but then my head says D'Iberville. So I'm going to roll with my heart on this one. I'm going to actually take Pascagoula. And that's 3 straight you and I are going against, but I guess that's kind of what makes this week so cool.
It does. This is a very exciting week. And we're seeing a lot of good ones. Now we got Grenada and Cleveland Central, so we're heading up north now. And Grenada 3-0 on the season. Cleveland Central is 2-1. I believe the one loss for Cleveland Central, correct me if I'm wrong, was Clarksdale.
Yes.
And it was a very close loss in week 1, but they've won the last 2 games since. Cleveland Central's a good program in 5A. But I got the Chargers winning this game. I got Grenada winning this game. I just don't expect them to lose this one. However, last week Grenada played Callaway. I looked at that game. They started off strong, 28-0, but the second half they didn't score at all. And they had their starters out there playing. So Grenada's going to have to fix that, but I do think they're going to just defensively, I think they're going to be able to hold Cleveland Central low enough to win this football game.
Yeah, I really like Cleveland Central's football team. I think they proved a lot last year, and they're good again this year, and they're going to win a couple playoff games. And, who knows how far they go, but they definitely have a shot, even though it's going to be tough, and they're going to be the underdog, when it comes to West Point. However, this is not a game that I don't see them competing in because Grenada is the top of the 6A schools, and I think Grenada plays a tough battle with West Point if they were to play. West Point might win that game, but that's a tough battle, and I just think that Grenada is just a step or two higher than where Cleveland Central is right now.
I would agree. So we both have Grenada winning that game against Cleveland Central. That is a road game for Grenada. Cleveland Central will be hosting the ball game. We got Madison Central and Northwest Rankin. I think this is an interesting one here. Okay, now Madison Central, obviously not looking great right now. They're coming off 2 losses. They lost to Brandon real close at home. Then they lost to Brookhaven on the road. Now, I'm not as down on Madison Central just because I view that as being a good win for Brookhaven. I think Brookhaven's a really good team. Okay. Now, still a bad loss for Madison Central because it's a 5A school. I mean, no disrespect at all, but just for Madison Central standards, that is a bad loss. But Northwest Rankin, I don't think they're as strong. Like, they are coming off a win over Wayne County, but they kind of struggled with Wayne County a little bit. You know what I mean? And they barely beat them. And they lost to Clinton, or no, they beat Clinton, if I'm not mistaken. Northwest Rankin.
No,
No, no,
they lost. They lost to Clinton.
they lost to Clinton. Yeah, they lost to Clinton. That's their one loss, and they beat Germantown. That's who it was. So I don't know. I'm thinking, but we saw Warren Central dominate Germantown. So I don't know. I don't think Northwest Rankin, even though they have a better record than Madison Central, I don't think they're as hot, even as Madison Central, even though they're coming off 2 losses. I got Madison winning this game.
Yeah, I do too. And I want to go back to the first point that you made, which is, no disrespect to Brookhaven, but Madison is very upset about this loss because it's a 5A school. That's not a shot at Brookhaven. And I don't want people to think, they were overrated. Again, we've talked about this. Brookhaven should talk about how great Madison is and how they're a
Yeah.
powerhouse because it makes your win look that much better. But at the same time, if you're a Madison fan, if you're a Madison football player, if you're a Madison coach, that's a game you can't lose. You can't lose that game. I mean, when you are that standard of football program with your past and your players and what you've been recently, you cannot lose that football game. That game could be played on the moon. They can't lose it. But they did. Now, I trust Toby Collins as a coach. I trust their football program and what it stands for. And I think that they win this week because I can't see a world where Madison loses 3 of the first 4 games and 3 in a row. So I do think that they win this game, and I think that they play with a level of passion that maybe they were missing last week.
And now we head up to the Golden Triangle, where Louisville and Starkville take each other on. Excited about this one as well. Both teams 2-1 on the year, with each of their losses being to West Point. Okay, now Starkville got dominated by West Point, whereas Louisville barely got beat by West Point at the final seconds. Okay, and maybe I'm overreacting from those results, and it's in Starkville. Okay, I got Louisville winning this game, and I know that might rock the world if that happens. That's a 3 classification difference. But I got the Wildcats beating the Yellow Jackets tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean Louisville's in this game majority of years. I mean it's not like they could totally win. However, I'm going to die on the hill of I think Starkville is just a really good football team, and West Point just had their number that night. I really like this Starkville football team. I think by the end of it, we're going to look back and be like, this is a really good football team. And so I'm rolling with them the majority of the weeks. So I'm rolling with them again.
And then now we're heading into the metro area. We got Terry and Callaway. Okay, and so this one's going to be hosted at South Jackson Stadium by Callaway. Callaway's 2-1. Terry's 3-0. This is a 6A matchup here. I got Terry winning this game against Callaway. Callaway's coming off a 28-0 loss to Grenada. Now, watch this game, okay? And Callaway was moving the football. They've got a big line up front. They were moving the football. They kept fumbling the ball in the red zone, which is a bad mistake to have as a football team. That's not a good showing on you. But it's not. They weren't getting completely shut. It wasn't just 3 and outs the whole game. They were fumbling the football and causing Grenada to have good field position. And Grenada scored because Grenada's a great team. But then the second half, it was 0-0. So Callaway they look like a strong team, but those mistakes, I think Terry's going to take advantage of it. I think the Bulldogs win, but this may be a really good one here because this will definitely be the toughest team Terry's played so far.
Terry can't lose this game. This is one of those games. It's a must win because when you look at what happened to West Jones last week, what you see happening to Hattiesburg and Keys, who knows if when he comes back at all. If Terry can't win this game, I don't feel as confident as I do as them possibly winning their district this year. And I think that right now they might actually be the favorite to win their district. However, a loss here, and I go, I don't know. Is this just Terry just not having enough again? I think that they should win this game by 2 touchdowns.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you on that. Now, listen, give me an update. What's going on with Tristan Keys?
He's just been out, so I mean, look, it's high school
Oh,
football, so they're not going to announce
yeah.
fully what's wrong or if there's anything wrong. He hasn't played yet.
That he hasn't played yet this year.
No.
Oh, that kind of explains some of the stuff we're seeing because okay, like them losing these games, not too surprising to me. Even with him, I think they lose these games that they've lost, like Petal and Oak Grove. But them scoring 7 points, I'm like, man, why not just gun it to him and see what happens? I mean, it seems like you get
He's
something.
just not on the field.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. So that's interesting. So Hattiesburg's a question mark there. That kind of changes my perspective on that. I thought they were losing these games with him like that. Okay. Well, moving on to Petal and Gulfport. So this one is in Gulfport. All right. Petal. I don't know. I'm not as high on Petal as I was at the beginning of the year. I do think they're a good football team, but they're in 7A. I mean, like, I, it's a little bit too much talent in there that I think for Petal to actually compete in the playoffs. I thought they could earlier on. I don't think so as much now. I got Gulfport winning this game, but I mean, listen, Petal got dominated by Columbia. They got beat by Ocean Springs at home. I don't know. And then, they beat Hattiesburg 50-28, but Hattiesburg, it turns out that they just don't seem like they have it either. So I got Gulfport winning this game at home because listen, Gulfport's only loss was to Picayune anyway by a field goal. So I think Gulfport's pretty good.
I'm going to take Gulfport with you. However, if this game were to be played in 5 weeks, I would take Petal. I think Petal
Interesting.
is one of those teams that's going to be different by the end of the year. I thought it was going to be earlier in the season, but I'm still holding out hope that by the end of the year, they're going to be a lot better than what we expected. You're going to be like, wow, this team just upset someone and we were not ready for it. I'm going to say, hey, no, I was telling you that by the end of the season, it's not going to be the same football team. But at the moment, the way that things are going, I'm going to take Gulfport. I just think by the end of the year, I think Petal's going to be serious.
Okay, that's interesting. So does Petal have a new coach? They have a new coach
Yeah,
this year?
Marcus Boyce.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. So that
Well,
that
new old coach. He had been there for a long time, and then he's back. He's back this year.
no, yeah, I hear you, but
Or
like
sorry,
that.
2 years. 2 years. Now you got me all messed up.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Well, here's the thing, but that makes sense if he's coming in, new like changing the guard. You know what I mean? That means that as the season goes on, a lot of times you get better. So I hear what you're saying on that one. But we both have Gulfport winning that game. Now we're heading into the MAIS for this one, and I think this will be a very interesting one. I think it'll be very telling. Jackson Academy and Hartfield Academy. Now, Jackson Academy came into this season as the favorite to win the MAIS. MRA's been very impressive so far. But MRA's played some tougher competition than JA's played so far. So we don't know as much about the Raiders. I've got JA winning this game against Hartfield, but I think this will be able to allow us to kind of get a better idea of where the Raiders actually are. If this is a really close game, or if Hartfield somehow beats them, I think MRA is the runaway favorite in the MAIS.
Yeah, no, I agree with that sentiment. I do think MRA is currently the best team in the MAIS, but I mean, there's no for sure until those teams play, anyways. Because
Yeah,
technically, Hartfield is the two-time defending champ here.
that's right.
Until they're eliminated in a playoff game, or they're so bad in the regular season, then maybe we can have that discussion. But I wanted to take Hartfield this game. I'm going to take JA. However, I really wanted to take Hartfield. I still think Hartfield's a really good football team. I just think that this game means more to JA. Hartfield's back-to-back champs. Whether they win or lose this game, their future in for this season and their playoff hopes and their championship hopes are not going to be deterred one way or the other. Let's say they go and they
That's
lose by
true.
30. Hartfield still thinks they can win it all. They'd say, "Oh, we played with MRA, we weren't ready. We just didn't have it, right?" But for the standard of JA to get into that, yeah, we are the best. This game means a lot more to them. And they're going to come out fired up. So I think they win this game only because I think it means more in the grand scheme of things for where their program is heading. And Hartfield, this is just another game on Friday to try to make them better. Try to win. Try to improve. And I just think the J, sells out and wins this game.
Tupelo and Oxford. All right. Now here, let me take a sip of water before I give my take here.
No, no, hey, let me talk about this because Oxford people have been all over me about this. Oxford thinks they're winning this game, and they're not winning this game.
Hey, I think I'm gonna have to go with them. I'm taking Oxford. I'm taking Oxford. I'm taking Oxford with the big upset here, and I see you hanging your head down.
That's just not happening.
But listen, Oxford has done well this year. Listen, I will agree with you. I do not think Oxford is going to beat Tupelo in the playoffs. Let me be clear on that. All right? But
they're not going to beat them Friday.
I think they'll knock them off. I think it's going to be a really close game, and I think Oxford knocks them off, and then Oxford gets all the hype after this one.
How many weeks have you picked Tupelo to lose so far?
Okay, this is on no. Actually, technically, this is the only time I've picked against them in a game. All right.
That's right. That's right. You picked Brandon to lose twice, even though they were your title hopes.
Yeah. Well,
where's your take integrity right now? Where's your pitch? You're not holding it. No,
but listen,
no. There's no way that Oxford is winning this game.
See, that's where I disagree. I do think there's a way.
What?
And I'm picking.
Like, how do you envision it?
Okay, that's a good question. Because that's the real problem that I had, because obviously this was not an easy call for me. Okay, because Tupelo, they run the ball and they run the ball effectively. So it's hard to imagine that all of a sudden they're just not going to be able to run the ball effectively. But here's the thing: I think Oxford's going to put up a lot of points on Tupelo. That's what I think is going to happen. So I think Oxford is going to. I think this game's going to be in the 30s, and then I think Oxford's going to win the game.
Oxford's going to put 30 on Tupelo?
I think so, and I think they're going to win this game. And I'm going out on a limb.
Heck, Tupelo might score 2-3 touchdowns with their defense and special teams.
Listen, I know Tupelo is a great team. I think that this is one of those games that just throws a curveball. It's at Oxford, okay? I think that the fans are going to be into it. They're excited about their team this year. They're 3-0 so far. I think that energy is going to take them to this victory. That's what I'm saying. I think this is one of those games where the best team in the state goes into a tough environment and takes a loss.
Okay.
I think that's what we're looking at here.
I'll shave my mustache for this one too.
Oh, that's crazy, man. If you keep doing that, man, your chances of shaving your mustache go up and up. All
Why?
Right?
I'm giving you a guarantee.
Yeah, so listen, those are our picks for this week. And listen, hey, Blake, this could allow me to catch up in the record, okay?
You're done week 4.
That's a possibility as well. Okay, that's a possibility as well. All right. Listen, another topic I want to talk about, we're going to get to top 5. We're going to talk about our top 5 teams with the most to prove in week 4. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But first, I kind of want to cover this topic. You've been talking about this a little bit on your Facebook, Blake. This Salem High School story. I think that this is really cool. I mean, listen, they had lost 49 games in a row, and just to think about that, that's nearly 5 full football seasons of losing. And now they have not only won games, they're 3-0. They're undefeated starting the season. I mean, Blake, have you done a little bit of digging on what's gone into this turnaround? Because this is flooring to me.
So there's 2 sides to this. One, they're just better this year, right? Like, just a flat out, they are a better football program today than they've been in a decade almost.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they have better players, they have better coaching, everything's better. They have played some schools that are obviously going through some tough times as well, too. However, those teams that were going through tough times were still beating Salem.
Yes.
You're right. Like Salem was the game that they knew they'd get their 1 or 2, second win of a season, and go 2-8, 1-9, whatever, right?
That's right.
Well, Salem has flipped the script, right? Where Salem now looking at those schools going, no, 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 you're our win. Because they're not just winning these games. Two of the three, they've blown them out.
Yeah.
It's not like they're just barely winning here. And very impressive. And when I started looking at their schedule and some of the other teams that they're going to play later, they're gonna go over 500.
Yeah, that
And,
appears.
and that's really impressive because sometimes you can schedule some non-conference games that you feel like you can get a cheap win in, right? Like
Yeah.
you just schedule. Although to some of these schools it was Salem the other way,
Yeah.
right? Like Salem was their cheap win, right? But now Salem, trying to maybe schedule a little early. Well, the way that they're winning and the way that I see some of these other teams, I'm like, well, they might win 2, 3 games in the district. Who knows? They might even be a 2 seed from their district. And could they win a playoff game?
Listen, that would be quite the story. We're going to keep track of Salem throughout this year. I know, but if you're talking about 1A schools like that, that's one thing is that a turnaround can happen quickly. Because if you get a few players coming in, it makes a big difference. If you think about a 7A program, if you're a terrible 7A program, it is hard to come back from that. It is really hard. It takes a lot of players and coaching, but a lot of good players to have a great 7A program. A 1A program, it doesn't take as many to turn things
Yeah,
around.
no, that's absolutely true. And one of the other things about the 7A thing is you need to fix your JV almost before you fix your varsity.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like you need that pipeline. And that's where you say it takes 4 to 5 years sometimes because, you're a public school and you need to change the way that the kids are coming through your program in the middle
Yeah.
school, right? So that they are ready when they get to high school because, yes, you play with the talent that you have, but you got to maximize the talent that you have. And sometimes it's tough because maybe, the kids didn't get great coaching through the JV level, the middle school level, and they're just not ready to play when they get to high school. So you're always trying to play catch up.
Yeah. No, definitely. And so that's the big thing. Um, and I've kind of been looking up close, and obviously I work with Terry, and I've been looking up close at how the middle school to high school connection is. That's so important. It's so important for the future of your program. But listen, Salem has been able to turn things around pretty quickly here. Obviously, going from 49 games lost in a row to winning now. I also saw a comment. I think it was on one of our videos, if I'm not mistaken, that was asking us to start paying a little bit of attention to Lanier. Now, I kind of was last year they were 9-2, so Lanier was a good team last year. They're a JPS school. JPS schools tend to be overlooked in football just because their football just doesn't tend to be as good. I mean, if we're just being honest, Lanier and Callaway tend to bring some good football year after year, or at least some decent football. And Murrah had a real good year last year, but other than that, it tends to be a struggle. Now, when I was looking at their schedule, they beat a 7A program, but it was Harrison Central, who really struggles. Lanier's 5A, and they beat Moss Point 42-6. Not really a good team right now, but 42-6 is domination. And then they beat Jim Hill 32-0, which is not a good team, but they dominated them as well. So obviously they're doing well so far. They're in a region with Holmes County, with Florence, Cleveland Central, Vicksburg, and then Provine. And so, listen, I'm looking at that. They may be able to find themselves in the playoff picture and maybe try to win a playoff game if possible. But I will say that region, Holmes County and Cleveland Central, those are tough teams in 5A.
I have been really impressed with Lanier. Last year, I thought, wow, maybe they just had a really couple good players and, oh, that was a one-hit wonder. Tommy Kelly, great first year, but this is going to be tough because, you're still dealing with, what the JPS system has been in football here recently, and Lanier have just been absolutely impressive now for a year and a half. And
Yeah,
Tommy Kelly has just done a beautiful job with them. He's an ex NFL player. I'm sure the kids listen to him. I mean, he played a decade in the NFL. It's hard not to listen to a guy like that. Plus, he's
yeah,
a massive human being. I'd be scared of him to try to do something to
yeah,
Tommy Kelly.
yeah,
But yeah, no, they've been impressive. Their running back is really good. I just talked about him. He's had a great start to the season. I think it's Knox. Knoxlin Bailey or something like that. But their running back has been phenomenal. And last year, they almost beat Forest, who almost beat Poplarville. Look, Lanier was serious in 4A last year, and they're in 5A this year, so they're up a classification.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's an absolute possibility they could be a top team in their district. I mean, look, I think Holmes is probably the favorite right now, or Cleveland Central. So I guess I'd slot him in at 3 if I really had to. But could they sneak into that 2 spot? And then, then they're hosting a playoff game probably at Hughes Field.
Yeah, and that would be something right there. Now, listen, I look at their region. I see Holmes County. I see Cleveland Central. I'd put both of those teams above Lanier. And then you got the Provine. I think they're definitely going to be better than Provine. Florence, I don't know. Florence tends to be a strong team. And then Vicksburg, who was 6A and now is 5A, I think Vicksburg is going to be a strong 5A program. Man, so they're going to be border. They could be as good as a 2 seed, or they could find themselves out of the playoff picture. So for Lanier, the big thing is how do you do in region play? But it's always good to see competitive play from the JPS schools. But Lanier, they have shown to be a good, strong program.
Yeah, I've been proud of them.
Yeah, definitely. So now we're going to get into our top 5, and our top 5 today is top 5 teams with the most to prove in week 4. So what I mean by that is what are the teams that have the biggest question marks that we may be able to find answers here in week 4. All right, so Blake, I'm gonna go ahead and get it started here with number 5. My number 5 team is Oxford. Okay, and the reason why I have them at number 5, obviously, I just picked them to beat Tupelo. Now that was, I picked them to barely edge out Tupelo, but here's the thing, is that the reason why I only have them at number 5 is because if they lose to Tupelo, there's no shame in that at all. So I don't want to act like that, oh, man, they're a disappointment if they lose to Tupelo. I'm not saying that at all. But I do think that if they beat Tupelo, they have a lot. Listen, that would be big for them. So I would have them at number 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Gulfport. You
All right.
talk about playing this pedal game, and I want Gulfport to solidify being one of the 2 best teams on the coast in their region, and that starts with beating Pedal the same way that Ocean Springs beat them, and to say, hey, look, you did it, so do we. Can't wait, to play. So I think this is definitely a Gulfport to impress, trying to impress and show that they are legitimate.
Number 4 for me is Madison Central. Okay, now they're 1 and 2. And listen, this game is very important for them to win. If Madison Central loses this game to Northwest Rankin, I probably am going to go ahead and write them off for the season. And I'm not saying write them off as but they might not even make the playoffs if they're at a level where they're losing to Northwest Rankin, because you got a competitive playoff spot. Listen, you got Clinton, Oxford, you got Germantown. Now how do they do against Germantown if they're losing to Northwest Rankin now? That starts to become a question. So Madison Central, I think, is my number 4 team on teams with most to prove here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take Cleveland Central.
All
I
right.
do not think they're going to win, but it's a must play well. And that's because if they think that they are a title contender in 5A, if West Point was playing Grenada this week, what would we be saying?
If West Point
Like
was
what?
playing, we'd be
Yeah,
thinking West Point might edge them out.
right.
Yeah.
So if you're Cleveland Central and you think you're a title contender in 5A, it's a must play well. Because they go and they get blown
Yeah.
out, well, that kind of puts you out of that realm for now. So I think
Especially at
Cleveland
home.
Central has a lot to prove.
Yeah. I can see that for sure. So my number 3 team with the most to prove is Ocean Springs. Listen, they go play Picayune. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a must win because Picayune's a great team, and if you lose, you can definitely rebound from that because Picayune's a great program. But for Ocean Springs, I think it's really important to grab this win, and I think if you do grab this win, you got a lot of confidence in your sales moving forward because this is a road game for Ocean Springs. And if you go ahead and beat Picayune on the road, you know that you're battle tested at this point. You know what I mean? And you'll be ready for 7A place. I got Ocean Springs at number 3.
At number 3, I have Jackson Academy.
Yeah.
Like, where do you really stand in the MEIS? You go and you lose this game, your whole hype of the offseason and the everyone picking you as the best because on paper it says you're the best. Well, now we're playing the games, and while I think you're gonna win, and I think on paper you might be the best, you're about to play a game here, and you got 48 minutes to go show us you're the best.
Number 2 for me is Starkville. And listen, Starkville, they're 2-1. Their wins over Oak Grove and Meridian. And listen, Oak Grove's 1-2 right now. And Oak Grove, I think that was I still think that was a good win. I'm not don't get me wrong. I think it was a good win. Every win's a good win, really, but I think that was a good win. Meridian they look like they're pretty bad. As they beat them 44-6, and they dominated them there. But I think this is an opportunity for them because they got beat pretty bad by West Point. I think this is an opportunity for them to rebound. If you go and you're able to do real well against Louisville, beat them handedly, I think you get back into that. You get back in the saddle of your confidence is a lot higher at that point. I think Starkville, number 2.
Yeah, and I'm going to take Madison, and this is the first time we have the same two teams on this list. And I'll tease you because we actually have my number one is one that's on your list. Madison's got to go win this game, and I understand it's not a automatic win by any means. I think Northwest Reagan's going to be ready to play, and it's going to be a tough win, but it's a must win for Madison because I can't imagine them losing 3 of the first 4 and 3 straight. It would be, I guess, unthinkable, and you just wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I might could have had them higher. No, my number 1 team's Jackson Academy, and you said this earlier. Listen, for them, if you lose to Hartfield, then you're. I know that you have MRA as your favorite at this point in time, but to me, I think the MRA is clearly the favorite if you lose this game to Hartfield. But what's crazy is that JA and Hartfield's always a good one, and Hartfield's the defending back-to-back champions. And you're playing them on the road, so it's hard for you to be like, oh, this is a must-win. It's not a must-win, really, especially how the MAIS sets their playoffs up. It's almost like nothing's a must-win. I mean, like, what? Seriously, it kind of makes it a little difficult to get into regular season games the way they have it set up. Really.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to have a must win when everyone makes the playoffs.
Yeah. So I don't really care for that too much, but that's all good, But I think Jackson Academy does have the most to prove here in this game.
All right, my most approved because you've convinced me. It's going to be Oxford because they've been messaging me and just telling me that they're going to upset them, and I said, all right, well, let's see it. Again, if Oxford comes out and they lose by 7, maybe even 10, I think they're the overwhelming favorite to win their district, and then they get the 4 seed across from them, which I guess could be a Germantown or a Clinton, a Madison. I mean, goodness gracious, that's a tough road for Oxford in the playoffs.
Isn't that Oxford's region though?
Not anymore.
Oh.
Oh no, yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry. That was my fault. I forgot that they flipped.
Yeah.
So 2 below. Okay. Excuse me. If they play with them, Oxford could win their region.
Yeah.
And that's a lot to prove.
Yeah. Seriously, so I mean, and I think Oxford's a good team, and obviously I think Oxford's a good team. I picked them to beat Tupelo, which might just be my demise here on these picks. But anyway, but yeah, those are our top 5, folks. We appreciate you joining us. This is the Magnolia Shine podcast. Be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, turn your notifications on so you don't miss any of our episodes, because that's very important. I know that subscriptions are definitely good, but turning those notifications on allows you to actually be able to see when we post our shows and our segments. But listen, Blake Levine alongside myself, Trellis Williams. We're excited about week 4. We out.